to our YouTube channel, Instituto Gaudia Vaishnava, that make comparisons between the Western religions or knowledge, between the Vedic knowledge, the Hindu knowledge from the Vedas, like Bhagavad Gita, Upanishads, and Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavata Purana texts. So today we have a very interesting subject for you. Naraka and Hell, a comparison between the idea of moral, ethos, in the Abrahamic scriptures, Quran, Torah, and Bible, and Srimad Bhagavatam, the Bhagavata Purana, that is the main text, that is the Siddhanta, is the conclusion, the perfect conclusion in the whole Vedas. This is me in my best picture, my best photography. And I will do a reflection to share with you. Could it be that what sustains the idea of hell in the Abrahamic scriptures, the Torah, the Bible, and Quran, is a moral disposition? In other words, are those who violated the moral laws in their scriptures thrown into these hells? Moral and Dharma. First, we need a definition about the moral and Dharma. So, we will do this now. What is moral? By moral or ethics, we understand a reflection on the good actions of human beings. A moral act is one that elevates the human being in society, both individually and collectively. So moral is strictly applied in the human condition, in human group or human civilization. What is the Dharma? Often the word Dharma is translated to mean religion, but to conceive of Dharma as a religion is to misconceive the word. In general usage, the word religion refers to a particular type of faith. The word Dharma does not. Dharma indicates the natural occupation of the living entity. For example, wherever there is fire, there is heat and light. So it may be said that heat and light are the Dharma of fire. Fire cannot change its Dharma. In the same way, liquid is an intrinsic quality of water, and this quality cannot be changed. If it is, it can no longer be considered water. The Dharma of the individual soul, the Jivatma, can never be changed, and that Dharma is the occupational duty of rendering service to the Supreme Lord. So here Srila Prabhupada defined the concept of Dharma, the Dharma to apply to spiritual soul, to Jivatma. This means Sanatana Dharma, but we want to know the Dharma of the human being, and with this we can make approaching of the notion of moral in the Abrahamic scriptures. So the Dharma, what is the Dharma? The moral attitude, the moral action for the human being. Both notions of Dharma and moral are very similar, involving human action, but the notion of Dharma is much more comprehensive, while the notion of moral in the West is concerned exclusively with human action, the notion of Dharma expands to nature, the appropriate action of all things in the universe, that maintaining properly the universe. This is Dharma in the Vedas. So, for we do this approach between Dharma and moral, we use a thematic axis to make this comparison between moral, the ethos in the Abrahamic traditions and the Vedas. We use the thematic axis of hell, the punishment that arises due to sins or immoral acts. Abrahamic or Western traditions. So, exists some idea of hell in these Abrahamic traditions? Yes, we'll quote some verses in these scriptures for you now. In Quran, Surah 4.56, indeed, those who disbelieve in our signs, we will drive them into the fire. Every time their skins are burned through, we will replace them with other skins so that they may taste the punishment. Yeah, very kindness. In the Quran also, and hell will be brought forth that day. On that day, men will remember, but what will remembrance avail him? In the Bible, Matthew 25.46, and this will go away into eternal punishment. Yes, fix this word, eternal punishment, but the righteous into eternal life. Then death and hell were cast into the lake of fire. This is the second death. In Torah, for a fire is kindled in my anger, and shall burn to the lowest depth of Sheol. Probably the name of hell in the Jewish tradition. In Torah, the wicked shall be turned into Sheol, and all the nations that forget God. So we saw that is very expressive a notion of hell, a place to punishment in the Abrahamic traditions. So now in the Vedic tradition, in the Srimad Bhagavatam, is possible a place like hell. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5, Chapter 26, Verse 5, the great sage Shukadeva Goswami answered, all the hellish planets are situated in the intermediate space between the two worlds and the Garbhodaka ocean. So this is very fascinating because in the Purana cosmology we see that the hell have a geographic place, a description of a right place, not a symbolic, not a divagation, a description of this place is more deeply, more profound. Again, the quote: they lie on the southern side of the universe, beneath Bhumandala, and slightly above the water of the Garbhodaka ocean. Pitraloka is also located in this region between the Garbhodaka ocean and the lower planetary systems. All the residents of Pitraloka, headed by Agnishwata, meditate in great samadhi on the supreme person of Godhead and always wish their families well. This is Srimad Bhagavatam, verse 7. Some authorities say that there is a total of 21 hellish planets, And some say 28. My dear king, I show a line of all them according to their names, forms, and symptoms. The names of the different hells are as follows: Tamishra, Andatamishra, Aurava, Mahararava, Kumbhipaka, Kalasutra, Asipatravana, Shukaramuka, Andakupa, Krimi Bhojana, Sandamsha, Taptashurmi, Vajakantaka, Shalmali, Vitarani, Puyoda, Pranarodha, Vishasana, Lalabaksha, Sarameyadana, Avij, Ayapana, Kshara Kardama, Rakrogana Bhojana, Shulaprota, Dandashuka, Avata Nirodhana, Paryavartana, and Suchimuka. All these planets, so Bhagavatam defined like places, and these places are planets are meant for punishing the living entities. Hell is structure, ontologic, what it is. In Quran, Bible, Torah, Abrahamic traditions, hell, eschatological destiny, the destiny final, end of the ends. It definitely happens to the person at the end times. Associate with the final judgment. It's not described as part of a physical map of the cosmos. It's symbolic. Nobody knows where the place of these things, these hells. Often symbolic language, more strict morals. In the Vedic tradition, Bhagavata Purana, Srimad Bhagavatam, hells or Naraka, real regions of the universe embedded in a multi-layer cosmology, the locus, the planets, ruled by Yamaraj, that is a representative of God Vishnu or Krishna, and they function as temporary stations for karmic corrections. So, in the hell of Abrahamic traditions, we have a eternal condition. In the Puranas, we have a karmic corrections. It's like a pedagogic, like a didactic punition, and you have a second chance. But if God is a merciful, kind, and loving Father, why would He place His children, the spiritual souls, in a condition of eternal damnation, without the opportunity for a second chance, without a chance for rehabilitation? This is what happens in a theological system where the notion of transmigration of the soul or reincarnation is removed. The image of a kind and merciful God is overshadowed by the image of a merciless and cruel God. Is the motivation for both systems of punishment or reward for those who would go to heaven or hellish places a mere moral disposition? In other words, are crime, punishment, virtue, and reward based on moral acts in both systems? In the case of Abrahamic systems, yes, but in the case of the Puranas, not. So, what motivates an individual's actions? Or are we going to judge moral acts without the applied understanding where the actions of living beings come from and what influences them? The weakness of moral and ethic. So this is from a book exploring the Bhagavad Gita, philosophy, structure, and meaning, from Ishwara Krishna, the Itamar Theodore. He is a teacher in the University of Haya in Israel. It's a very interesting book, a very interesting study about the Bhagavad Gita. The quote, the ideal moral world which is aimed at by Dharma is doomed to confront human reality, which is naturally less ideal. A human existence which is full of weaknesses and fault is somewhat different than the ideal dharmic world, which is somewhat utopian. This gap occupies a major part of the Mahabharata, where, on the one hand, a description of persons who were able to adhere to Dharma, despite various obstacles, is given, and on the other hand, various human weaknesses which prevent one from adherence to duty are delineated. This more pessimistic view of the world leads to the understanding that the human existence is ultimately doomed to suffering, and that the only real solution to this problem is the relinquishment of the world altogether. So, from real knowledge, jnana, in the Vedas, arises vairagya, tyaga. So we have the laws, moral laws, rules and regulations, and sometimes this is a very utopical because we have the very higher laws, but the peoples are the major part are found out. So we have this gap. Yeah, we have the laws in society as here in the Switzerland, but we have the behavior of the peoples in Brazil. So I will do to solve the solution. The Vedas believe that this don't have solution. Yeah, because this is the nature of the material world, the Prakriti. Dukalayam Ashashvatam, temporary and miserable. So the right thing to do when the intelligence is ripe, this nature is purified, is relinquishment of the world altogether. And another reflection about the moral ethos in Western systems. The Michel Montaigne said a very interesting thing about the moral, a very interesting observation. The laws of conscience arise from opinion and custom, and like everything else, they vary according to the climate. So, for Michel Montaigne, the moral is relative, is a human construction, is a human convenience. Is morality sustainable in itself? By a specific place or of a specific region and determined at a specific time. Thus, what was moral 7 years ago may not be moral today, and what is moral in Switzerland may not be moral in Brazil. We can therefore speak of Christian morality, Jewish morality, or Muslim morality. It is a construct of a particular culture. But would this also apply to the notion of Dharma in the Vedas? No, bro. So, because when we talk about Dharma in the Vedas, we talk about Varnashram Dharma. We are talking about the gunas, the three modes of material nature. This is an item that don't have in the Abrahamic culture, don't have in the Western culture, or have. Wait a moment. When we say that gunas move all actions, this applies to all peoples, all living entities in all times within Prakriti, in the material nature. Extremely universal and necessary, make the gunas a scientific application for understanding the material world, one science of the action. Here the deity is representative of the gunas, Lord Shiva representative of Tamoguna, Lord Brahma representative of Rajaguna, passion, and representative from godness is Lord Vishnu, Narayana. So how these gunas are known as hopes or shackles or chains, because it's subtle, these gunas catch the consciousness of the living entity, capture the consciousness of a human being. Prakriti kriyamanani gunai karmani sarvashaha ahankara vimudatma kartahan iti manyate. Gunai karmani sarvashaha. The spirit soul, bewildered by the influence of false ego, thinks himself the door of the activities that are in actuality carried out by the three modes of material nature. So angry, lust, these material desires are influenced, arise from tamaguna, the unlimited desires for material development, for earn money in material world. This comes from Rajaguna, and the desire of liberation, the desire of know God, the desire of know himself, the essence of all things. This came from Sattva Guna. Because the gunas are the source of and the transcendence of the moral. Krishna explained in Bhagavad Gita, Traigunya Vishaya Veda Nistrayo Gunyo Bhavarjuna Nirdvando Nitya Sattvasto Niryoga Krema Atmavam. The Vedas deal mainly with the subject of the three modes of material nature. When we talk about the human being, we talk about the three modes of material nature, because this pushing the human beings. Oh Arjuna, become transcendental to these three modes, be free from all dualities and from all entities for gain and safety, the motivation, the human motivation, and be established in the self, in himself. Here, chapter 14, in the right side. The chapter 14 Bhagavad Gita, Krishna explains the whole chapter about of these three modes of material nature, the three gunas. And the next chapters, chapter 15, chapter 16, chapter 17, and the conclusion in the chapter 18, all these are connected with this chapter 14. These another chapters came from is an extension of this chapter 14 for you understand the importance of the three gunas, because the three gunas cause the action, cause the desire, the wills in the human being, in the mind. The Supreme Person of Godhead said, "Again I shall declare to you the supreme wisdom, the best of all knowledge, knowing which all the sages have attained the supreme perfection. By becoming fixed in this knowledge, one can attain to the transcendental nature like my own God, Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Krishna. Thus established, one is not born at the time of creation or disturbed at the time of dissolution, because he is always in Vishuddha Sattva, pure, pure goodness. This is verse 5 in the chapter 14. Material nature consists of the three modes: goodness, passion, and ignorance. When the eternal living entity comes in contact with nature, Almighty Arjuna, he comes conditioned by these modes. What is the cause of immoral acts or sins? So, in the Abrahamic traditions, because of the sins, the immoral acts, one go to the hell. But what caused the sins? What is the motivation of the sins? Where come from? So Arjuna in Bhagavad Gita, the Krishna's disciple, did this question. Arjuna said, "O descendant of Vrishni, by what is one impelled to sinful acts, even unwillingly, as if engaged by force?" And Krishna answered. The Lord said, "It is lust and then anger." Yes, the vicious arising from the mode of passion, Rajaguna. Know this as the great devourer, the great ferocious one, the enemy. So, from the passion become in ignorance, in darkness mode, Tamoguna, and this devour, this destroy all possibility of advancement in the human life. So this is an excerpt from the Plato, Dialogues of Plato, the dialogue called Law. So Plato also explained about the three ropes, three lines, the line of gold and another two lines made by another metals. The point is, we have an explanation about the gunas, about the three modes in the Platonic dialogues, but after Plato, after the Greek culture, these disappear in the Western cultures, in the Western philosophy or moral. And in the beginning of this chapter 26 in Bhagavata Purana, the chapter that explains about the hellish planets, Shukadeva Goswami explained, Triguna Tvat Kartuhu Shradaya Karma Gatayaha. The great sage Shukadeva Goswami said, "My dear king, in this material world there are three kinds of activities: those in the mode of goodness, the mode of passion, and the mode of ignorance. Because all people are influenced by the three modes of material nature, the results of their activities are also divided into three. One who acts in the mode of goodness is religious and happy. One who acts in passion achieves mixed misery and happiness, especially in this planet, Mrityuloka or Earth planet. And one who acts under the influence of ignorance is always unhappy and lives like an animal. Because of the varying degrees to which the living entities are influenced by the different modes of nature, their destinations are also of different varieties." Here in Bhagavad Gita, again, chapter 14, verses 14 and 15. When one dies in the mode of goodness, he attains to the pure higher planets of the great sages. When one dies in the mode of passion, Rajaguna, he takes part among those engaged in fruitive activities. And when one dies in the mode of ignorance, he takes birth in the animal kingdom. In conclusion, our research reveals that what separates the moral notion of Abrahamic religions from that of the Vedas and from the concept of Dharma is that the latter, besides being much more comprehensive, also works with the influence of the gunas, or the three modes of material nature, which are the foundational root of the entire structure of world existence. Subtle and omnipresent in nature, they are in all pervading. They are in everything and everyone, and it is they that impel the desires of beings, which culminate in action, making Dharma universal, necessary, and therefore scientific. Is a subject I studied for the great scientists of religions, for philosophers, etc. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. This is the end, my only friend. Thank you for company, for watching this video. So have a nice day. Hare Krishna e ciao. Hare Krishna and bye bye.
Govinda Govinda Manala Galiya Chanda मराठी माणसानं म्हणा सर्वांचं काही आहे